Okay, so here we are live once again with another DC Multiverse unboxing, and this one is Hourman from JSA, one of my favorite Golden Age superheroes. Hourman, he goes way, way back. He was actually in the very first issue of All Star Comics to feature the Justice Society. So he was one of the founding members of the team. He wasn't actually on the team very long, though. For whatever reason, he's only in like the first few issues or so with Justice Society, and then he winds up leaving the team. Not sure why that happened in real life, but the explanation that they came up for it in the comic book much later on, Roy Thomas did in All Star Comics, was that he was starting to become addicted to the Miraclo pill that he was using. So this figure is mostly a repaint of the Spectre, who in turn used a lot of parts from the Martian Manhunter. So they've got a lot of parts in common between the Spectre and John Jones. Do I still have him over here on this couch somewhere? I know it's very cluttered, and I've got a lot of stuff over here. So if I still had Martian Manhunter on the couch, we could look at him too. But man, there's so much stuff over here. I really need to clean off this couch anyway. So, I mean, this is pretty much my couch where I sit here and I open up the action figures. So, so I'll toss something aside over here when I'm done with it. And I don't see him around. And that's not to say that he wouldn't be around. It's just to say that I don't see him around. I'll probably find him after I'm done with the video, but that's okay because we got the Spectre we can compare him to, and like I said, most of those parts, the Spectre and Martian Manhunter had in common. So with the Spectre, he had new hands, not the whole trunks, but just kind of like the top of his trunks, where originally Martian Manhunter had a belt. They just kind of made a continuation piece for the trunks, so they didn't even make him new trunks. They just kind of adapted the trunks that the Martian already had, and new lower legs, so you can have the little booties, the new cape and hood piece, and a new head. This guy looks like from the Spectre. He has new hands and a new belt piece and new shins and a new head. He reuses the same hood and cape piece and has a little hourglass kind of stuck to his chest. So here's a nice piece of artwork on the back, and that's by Murphy Anderson. I believe that's from the Who's Who issue. And in the background, they have another piece by Murphy Anderson. At least it was inked by him. It might have been penciled by Mike Sikowski, but I don't remember. But that would have been the first crossover between the Justice Society and the Justice League. So let's go ahead and open them up. Now, for those of you who were expecting to see a superpowers figure today, because I had talked about doing superpowers today, I decided I'd just open up this guy instead, mainly because I like to keep things grouped together as much as possible, and I realized if I opened up one superpowers figure today, and I'm probably not going to do a video on Sunday because I usually don't do a video on Sunday. And I probably, in fact, won't be doing a video until like late on Monday. I'd basically be doing like one superpowers video and then not do one for a while. So I decided it'd probably be better if I just go ahead and did something else today. And since I got my order in from Big Bad Toy Store, I was even thinking about opening up King Randor, the multiverse figure of King Randor that I got. But I've just done so much Masters of the Universe stuff lately. It's been a while since we've done any DC, so I figured I should probably do something DC, but I don't really want to jump into superpowers just yet. And I've got a ton of multiverse stuff too. So I figured, why not just go ahead and open up Hourman? You know, we got that one. That's the most recent multiverse figure that I got anyway, so we might as well talk about him. So here's the figure stand, and you can see it's a typical matte black Mcfarlane figure stand with the glossy black DC logo embossed onto it, like we're used to seeing with these multiverse figures. Pretty typical. And every figure these days should come with a figure stand. There's no excuse for them not to anymore. And McFarlane's usually really good about that. Oddly enough, I think Superpowers is the only McFarlane line that I collect that doesn't always come with a figure stand. Well, I guess Batman 66 doesn't always. But anyway, so here's the trading card. Got that same nice piece of Murphy Anderson artwork on it. There's what the back looks like. And it reads, Hourman, JSA, real name Rex Tyler. Several heroes have taken the code name of Hourman. The first was the brilliant chemist Rex Tyler, who invented a vitamin he called Miraclo. It gave Rex superpowers, but only for 1 hour. Donning a distinctive caped and hooded costume, Rex was a founding member of the Justice Society of America. Unfortunately, he became addicted to Miraclo and was unable to develop a non-addictive version. Rex was almost killed by the time-warping villain Extant during 0 Hour, but android Hourman Matthew Tyler switched places to save him. Yeah, the android version of Hourman was pretty interesting. Like, I didn't read that comic for the longest time, and finally I wound up finding a bunch of issues of it in a 50-cent bin where I used to buy all my old comics. There was a place that I could get a lot of good old comics for cheap. Unfortunately, it's closed down now. But yeah, I found all those old 90s Hourman comics there and read that series, and that was pretty good actually. Initially I was kind of like, I don't know what, a robot Hourman, like why don't they just bring back Rick Tyler? And they did eventually bring back Rick Tyler. He's the current Hourman, I believe. At least when I was reading JSA, he was Hourman, but who knows what's going on at DC these days anymore. So we got a little rubber tab around his wrist. Get that cut off. This rubber tab around his wrist, and there's another double rubber tab around his waist, right above where his belt is, and then there's a rubber tab around his knee and around his toe. Why would you put a rubber tab around the toe? Hey, Captain Half Fun's here. What's he got to say? The Rock's voice. Who cares about I care about Hourman. I bought the figure. I do actually have a figure of The Rock coming up because I got the not Masters of the WWE, the WWE Superstars. I got The Rock. I found him on sale recently, so I got him for pretty cheap. And of course, I've got Scott Hall. I still need to open up. Maybe I'll do those in between when I finally open up the Superpowers figures that I've got. And before I really get started on DC Multiverse, this is just a taste of DC Multiverse. I think that's all the rubber tabs, except for the one around. I'm not going to bother. Why would you even put it around the toe like that? That's not even going to hold that foot in the package. And of course, he's got this plastic cape that I'm going to have to pull through this opening. So I'm going to be very careful with that when I do that, because I don't want to scuff that up or anything. But let's go ahead and get him out of the package. There we go. All right. And you see, like, I didn't even. Why would you put a rubber tab just around his toe? Just like right there. It's like that's not gonna hold him in. I hate the rubber tabs, but that one was like just pointless. It was like didn't do anything. All right, so now that we got him out of the package, let's go ahead and have a look at him right next to the Spectre. There we go. And you can see that they're essentially the same figure with just a little bit of differentiation between the two of them. Like I said, they've got different shins, they've got different belts, they've got different heads, they've got different hands, and Hourman has a little hourglass stuck to his chest. Now they did this as just like a little separate plastic piece that's just kind of glued on there. Whereas normally with an Hourman figure, almost every other Hourman figure I've ever had, what they actually do is make a little soft goods cord and tie it, like with the superpowers here, tie it around his neck. But this one, they kind of have it glued on there, and it's just a piece that's solid glued onto the chest, which I'm fine with. Let's see. Captain Have Fun says Scott was great. Goldberg and my dad have been friends since '92. Oh, how about that? My dad hated that I love Scott Hall. Goldberg was the guy who taught me how to eat for training. Oh, how about that? That's interesting. So, yeah, I met Scott Hall once. He was a really nice guy. He bought me pizza, and it was a really good storyteller. He was a guy who knew how to tell a story. So I got nothing but love and respect for Scott Hall, and he's a guy that I miss. Like as far as wrestlers go, I got a lot of wrestlers that I would consider favorites of mine. But out of all the ones that I've met in real life, that I've actually met as a person, Scott Hall is the one who stands out the most in my mind. So I love Scott Hall. Captain Have Fun says, "Is that Hourman cape and the Spectre cape hard polyester?" No, it's kind of floppy, but yeah, it's plastic. It's a plastic molded cape, which I'm gonna talk a bit about how this hood comes together and everything in a minute. But yeah, it's the same cape as the Spectre. So if you're lucky enough to have the Spectre, then you know what the cape is. It's basically that cape, but in yellow. Vince did Scott dirty. He sure did. Vince did a lot of people dirty. Vince did literally did some people dirty, if you know what I mean. Well, we don't need to get into all that right now. So if you think about it, I guess it kind of makes sense that they would reuse the Spectre's cape on Hourman, because on the surface level, they're kind of similar capes. Hourman has a cape with a collar on it. Spectre has a cape with a collar on it. They both have hoods, but Hourman's hood is usually depicted as being quite a bit different from how it's depicted here. Now, if we look at how Murphy Anderson drew Hourman's hood, yeah, you see like it's a hood that kind of fits close to the top of the head and has a black shaded spot over the face, and that's how he's usually depicted. And there's a lot of different ways that you can interpret this when you bring it into 3 dimensions. But the way they sculpted it on the Superpowers figure, and most Hourman figures, tends to be where it's a close fitting hood that has a mask that fits tightly to his face, even though the rest of the hood is mostly loose. But over the top of it, it's kind of tight just to hold the mask on. And they did not paint the black shading onto the Superpowers figure. This cape definitely or this Hourman definitely has the black shading on the mask, but you can see the mask is not actually attached to the hood because they reused the Spectre's hood. So he just has a normal hood over his head, and then he's wearing a mask underneath the hood, which, yeah, I suppose that's a way you could interpret that. But let's see if we can pull the hood back over his head a little bit. I want to try to examine this head some. But yeah, he's just got the mask as a separate piece, and we can see that the mask, it's a full mask that fits over like the whole top of his head, but his ears are exposed. So it looks kind of like a first appearance Captain America mask in that regard. If I can pull it all the way over his whole head, I don't want to damage it or anything, but it looks like there's no hair sculpted in the back. So he's got kind of like almost like it looks like he shaved his head and put a mask on over it. And the head sculpt I really like. I think the head sculpt's really good. It has like an Alex Ross kind of quality to it that I like. So that's good. But yeah, he reuses a lot of parts from the Spectre, which reused a lot of parts from Martian Manhunter. And since Spectre and Martian Manhunter were both supposed to be dudes who were just kind of wearing trunks and boots and belt, like they weren't really supposed to be guys wearing shirts and pants. So there's like that kind of texture that the Martian Manhunter had sculpted into his chest and his legs that's supposed to look kind of like, I guess, Martian skin. And I didn't really mind that so much on the Spectre either, because he's supposed to be kind of an inhuman character, so he can have like a weird texture to his skin. But with Hourman, he's just supposed to be wearing an outfit, so his outfit has that kind of almost sort of the leathery texture to it. It's kind of strange for a guy who's supposed to be wearing tights basically. Captain Half Fun says some of the superpowers capes have accidental cuts on the corners. I love Mcfarlane's head sculpts, but will not be missing their quality control problems, nor their missing truck with all of USA's Killing Joke jokers. Yeah, that was a bit suspicious. And apparently they lost a bunch of Supergirls too. I got my Supergirl though, so I ordered her from Big Bad Toy Store. But apparently, like all all of the Killing Joke jokers were stolen. And I'm like, I don't know what you're going to do with those, because if all of them are stolen, then anybody who has one obviously has something that's hot. You know what I mean? So whoever has those has to be the thief if they were all stolen, right? So what are you going to do with them? I don't know. It's crazy. Captain Have Fun says, yes, I got a refund for my Killing Jokers. Well, I'm glad that at least people got their money back for those. I never got around to ordering that one, so it's like I guess I'm not gonna get one now. but but yeah, it's like that's just a whole weird thing. So I don't know what was going on with that. So one thing that I noticed is missing on this version of Hourman is you see that he's got like a plain yellow cape, whereas the original design of Hourman had the red and black stripes across the not quite the edge, but the bottom of the cape. People have described this as looking like a bath towel, and I can definitely see that. But they did not bother to paint in the cape on this version of Hourman. Captain Half Fun says those trucks are worth $500,000 alone and have hidden gas. So they might have sold it just for the truck and just dumped the action figures somewhere. Somebody might wind up finding like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Joker action figures that couldn't get unloaded, and maybe they could return them for a reward or something. That might be nice. Maybe eventually we will find those figures. I would like to find out the whole story behind that. That would certainly be an interesting tale to tell. So yeah, it's kind of funny to me that the superpowers figure with the fabric cape, they actually did manage to print that on there. They did actually bother to do that, but they didn't do it with your supposedly like deluxe collector edition Mcfarlane Multiverse figure. They didn't bother to paint on the cape. And I guess it would have been probably kind of tricky considering all the folds in the cape and everything, but maybe they probably should have just given him a wired fabric cape like they've been doing with a lot of figures these days. I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things where, like, since this was kind of a hard to find figure, maybe they wanted to get a little more of their money's worth out of the mold for that cape. But hey, you know what? If you weren't able to get the Spectre, maybe you can get an extra one of these guys at Target and repaint it, and you can have your own custom Spectre figure, since he was so hard to find. Captain Halfhorn's insurance scam might be that too. Might be that too. Might be that it's an inside job of some kind. So I'm sure there's a lot about this story that we don't know yet, and we will eventually, hopefully, one day learn the whole story because I'm sure it's fascinating. So let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. So our man does have some pretty good articulation in his head. He can look up about that far and look down about that far, tilt his head kind of quizzically from side to side. I'm sure in theory this head rotates all the way around, but it's got this plastic hood that's gonna keep that from being an easy thing to do. But you can turn it a little bit. The problem with this hood is that since it is separate from the head and it is just a piece of plastic, is that you can only pose the head so much because the hood's got to be in such a way where it's like showing his face. So if I turned his head all the way around, you'd have hood over his face, and you see his ear over here, and there's only so much you can naturally do with a character's head when they're wearing a hood like this. And frankly, I think it works better with the Spectre than it does with Hourman, just because the Spectre is so much more of an ethereal kind of character. Hourman is basically a street level guy. Like one of my favorite lines ever from Hourman was in JSA when he came back and replaced his son for a little bit. When Hourman was about to be killed by Extant, he actually opened up his last hour into another dimension, and he was living in this other dimension for like one more hour that his son can come and see him anytime he wanted to. And they were breaking it up into bits, and Rick had a timer so that he knew how much time he had before his father had to go away for that last hour. And at one point, they wound up switching places, and Rex came back to the modern day, and in the middle of a fight, basically, and said, I'm Hourman. Just tell me who to hit. So I love that line. So eventually they did fix all of that. Like I said, the android Hourman went back and sacrificed his life so that Rex could return to the land of the living. Basically, Captain Have Fun says a lot of figures can't look up due to their hoods, her hair, but my Figma Homelander can look straight up. Meanwhile, his Mafex version can't look up. I remember you telling me about that. And honestly, like looking straight up is always like a thing that I like to have on flying characters because I mean, obviously you're going to have them fly, so you want to have them look straight ahead. And that was something that, like action figures when I was a kid, like Migos or Superpowers, they could never do that. So modern figures where like they can look straight forward while they're flying. I always consider that to be a bit of a bonus. I always like having that. All right, so where were we? Oh yeah, the arms. So he's got a butterfly joint. The arms move back about that far. They move forward about that far. You can really shift this shoulder around quite a bit. The arm rotates all the way around, but of course it's going to bump into that plastic cape a little bit. So that's going to kind of get in the way. But they do rotate all the way around. He's got a bicep swivel. Bicep rotates all the way around. He's got double jointed elbows. That is about the range of motion you're going to get at the elbows. Of course, he's got the cool Mcfarlane wrist articulation, which moves around any which way you want to. Some of the best wrist articulation, probably the best wrist articulation that you're going to find on any action figure these days. Of course, he's got a joint right here at the upper part of the torso, turns all the way around, wobbles kind of back and forth, can move around any which way you want. Same with the waist, rotates all the way around, can get him in all kinds of cool dramatic poses. Just tell him who to hit. He can kick up about that far, so pretty good range of motion there. He does have that little bit of a pivot here. Doesn't go all the way around, but it does give you a little bit more posability at the hip. He's got double jointed knees. That's about the range of motion you get at the knees. One thing that I notice is that his thighs and his knees are molded in yellow plastic, but the shins are molded in black plastic and painted at the upper part to be yellow, which a lot of the times doesn't work out that well, but I think it's working out okay with him. But usually yellow is a color that's really bad about trying to match the paint. And the main problem here isn't actually the color, because you see the color matches really well. It's the opacity and the fact that like yellow plastic tends to be slightly, ever so slightly translucent. And of course, if you paint something, it's going to be completely opaque. So the light doesn't quite hit the shins the same way as it hits the thighs. But I don't think it's too bad of a problem. It's something that for me is noticeable if I really look at it. But I think part of it also is because of the way that the shadows are going to fall on the figure, it helps to kind of make it not quite as obvious as it would be otherwise. Captain Have Fun says exactly. So I'm guessing you're referring back to what I was when we were talking about the neck posability. So because I saw that pop up a while ago, I just hadn't had a chance to look at it. But yeah, it's like we've discussed this before. We've discussed this before. This is something that we both absolutely 100% agree on. Oh man, I just accidentally made such a cool pose there where he's throwing a punch. I didn't even mean to do that. He looks really cool. So where was I? Oh yeah, no boot cut on this guy, but he doesn't really need a boot cut. He's got that cool Mcfarlane ankle articulation, so you can rotate the ankle where the ankle meets the shin. You can rotate the ankle where the foot meets the ankle. So it just moves all the way around, like with the wrist. Excellent articulation there, and then he's got toe articulation just to show off. So Hourman, as we discussed, is a character with a great legacy in the comics. Of all the heroes that have borne the name of Hourman, though, I think that Rex is still my favorite. I did enjoy, like I said, I did enjoy the Android Hourman comic. I did think that was a lot of fun. And I liked Rick Tyler a lot. I think he's a great character, but I think Rex is still my favorite of the Hourman characters. Another great Hourman comic to check out, and this is not family reading, so don't have this for bedtime with your kids. But the old Vertigo comic, Sandman Mystery Theater, one of my favorite comics of all time, which is a very violent, very brutal pulp style adventure comic with maybe my favorite of the Earth 2 Golden Age heroes. Wesley Dodds, the Sandman, winds up teaming up with Rex Tyler, and it's basically Rex's origin as Hourman and how he first becomes Hourman. And that's a great story. But like I said, it's Sandman Mystery Theater. It's not for the faint of heart. If you can't stand a lot of sex and violence in your books, don't read those comics. But honestly, that was probably one of the more tame Sandman Mystery Theater comics in there. But there's still some things you might want to have a trigger warning for if you were to read it. But I thought they did a great job with Hourman in that. And to me, that's where like a lot of my interpretation of his personality comes from. He was a very swashbuckling kind of character with a lot of joie de vivre, and that's kind of what I like about Rex Tyler. I kind of imagine him being a guy who had like a fairly humdrum life until he invented this Miraclo pill, and then he realized he could use it for adventuring. And even though Roy Thomas was the guy who came up with the idea of having the Miraclo pill actually be addictive, I honestly kind of feel like it's not even the pill itself that was addictive so much as the adrenaline, and he became kind of an adrenaline junkie. And maybe that actually mixed with the Miraclo in some way that he didn't quite expect. But I kind of feel like Rex is a little bit of a thrill seeker, and that's kind of what his main motivation was more than anything else. He's not a guy who was motivated by any kind of deep trauma like Batman or like Superman motivated by like, an altruistic need to help people. He's a guy who is basically a superhero because like it seemed like a fun thing to do. And to me, that's kind of his he's a good guy, and yeah, he wants to help people. Absolutely. But I think more than anything else, he just enjoys being a superhero. Captain Have Fun says those hands look like Superman size. Well, let's have a look. I'm sure I've got some kind of Superman figure over. Yep, I got the Action Comics #1 figure. Let's go ahead and have a look at his hands next to Superman's, and I believe that they are the same exact size. I don't know if these are the same hands that are on Martian Manhunter, because I don't have Martian Manhunter to compare. It looks like the fist hand on Hourman is slightly smaller than the Action Comics #1 Superman, but the open hand, it looks like Hourman's is slightly larger. So they seem consistent enough with each other when you're just looking at them like that. But when you compare them, it's kind of weird how they're like different sizes. Now I really wish that I knew where that Martian Manhunter figure was. Maybe he's down here in this box. Because now I would really like to compare with Martian Manhunter if I knew where he was, like offhand. I was hoping maybe he was in that box. Well, I don't know where Martian Manhunter would have gone, because I thought I had him over here on this couch. But I don't see him right now. I don't see him on that pile of figures. I got piles of figures all over the place. One of these days, I got to get organized. One of these days, I got to open up the Mummy. Maybe that would have been a good thing to open today if I'd thought about it. At this point, Mummy's going to get saved for next Halloween because I keep forgetting about him. You can go ahead and put the packaging back together so I can take that down to the recycling in a minute. There's definitely a lot of stuff I can take to recycling. I still got the Leatherneck package over there. I still got the Xandar package over there. I still got the Faker package over there. I need to get all that taken care of. Anyway, that's pretty much it for Hourman. I've talked about him for about 33 minutes now, so not quite an hour, a little more than a half an hour. But but my Miraclo is starting to wear off. But yeah, he's a really cool figure. I'm really happy with how he turned out. Like I said, always been a big fan of this character, and to me, he's kind of like almost like a no frills kind of superhero, and I like that aspect of him. Like I liked him being teamed up with Sandman, who is kind of like almost like a no frills Batman, and this guy's kind of like the no frills Superman. So it was kind of like almost like a budget World's Finest when these guys teamed up, and I thought they had really good chemistry together in that story. So maybe one of these days, before they lose the license, maybe Mcfarlane can actually get around to doing a Golden Age Sandman figure, and that would be pretty sweet. That would be another good use of that Heath Ledger Joker body that worked out really well when they used it for the Question. They could go ahead and do that for Sandman also. So anyway, I think that's pretty much it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. So next episode, when I come back next week, then I'm definitely going to do superpowers. Like I said, I was almost going to do superpowers today, but I just kind of didn't want to break it up between weeks. And I'm probably going to have more than 1 week's worth of superpowers figures. I'm sure I'm going to have, because let's see, we've got the 2 crowdfunding figures. We've got 4 regular superpowers figures. So I've got the alleged Dick Grayson Robin from the crowdfunding. I've got the Jason Todd Robin. I've got the crowdfunding Batman. I've got the Atom. I've got Golden Age Flash Jay Garrick. I've got Lobo, the gigantic, absolutely huge Lobo figure. We've got the Bat Multicraft And we've got the Sea Saucer, because I got my Big Bad Toy Store order in today, so I've got the Sea Saucer to open up for you. I do not have the crowdfunding Aquaman or Black Manta, but I did manage to get the Sea Saucer, so that's good. That was the main thing out of that set that I was interested in anyway. But yeah, so we'll have all of that to open up for you in the coming weeks, and then we've got more DC Multiverse. We've got tons of cool DC Multiverse figures to go over. Then, if you're a JSA fan, well, we're gonna have more of that. Because we're gonna have Dr. Fate. We're gonna have Two-Face. We're gonna have a few Superman figures, a few Batman figures, a Supergirl figure. Oh, we got so much cool stuff coming up, and I've got more He-Man on the way because I've got that King Randor figure, and I'll probably have more of that before we know it. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about Hourman, both the character and the figure in general, and we will talk to you next time. Bye.